Okay, so we're just going to do Camtasia now for Cluster 3, AT1, the written questions. So question 1, how can business technology applications or programs be used to schedule tasks and plan work? So here we just want a few dot points, up to 3 dot points please, just giving us some ideas of how you might schedule a task or plan your work. Number 2, how can you use feedback to improve your performance? So what way, a couple of sentences here, what ways do you, can you get feedback about how you've performed in a task or a skill? Number 3, when reviewing and improving your own clinical practice, what should you consider from a legal and ethical point of view? So we've covered some of this in class. So again, I want 4 dot points, please, of the guidelines you would use to think about your clinical practice from a legal and an ethical point of view. Number 4, earlier in the course you completed an activity to determine your learning style. You did this in Cluster 1. What style are you? How will this impact the way you approach development activities during placement? So you'll pick a learning style and tell us which style you are and how this learning approach will impact the things that you do on placement. So this should be a couple of paragraphs outlining these reflections. 5, list the 3 types of work methods and practices you can undertake to help improve your performances. So here we want you, it says 3, but you can list more than 3 if you like, and this can just be dot point form of things that you would do. Number 6, list and explain 3 different ways you can evaluate your performances, your performance. Again, dot points with a couple of sentences for each dot point, please. 7, list the key points from the NMBA practice guidelines, standards and fact sheets with regard to A to G. So as we've done in class, you'll go to the NMBA website and you can find the information you need for points A to G. And that, for those, we just want a couple of sentences for each. 8, define each of the following terms. So here again, we want you to, in 2 or 3 sentences per point, so we've got A to G again, we'd like a couple of sentences for defining and explaining what each of those points are. Number 9, describe each of the following ethical concepts. So again, for points A to F, we want 2 to 3 sentences minimum to explain each of those ethical concepts. Number 10, define each of the following legal terms. Again, points A to I. We want you to tell us in 2 to 3 sentences minimum what each of these legal terms mean. Just the key word there is define. 11, what are the functions of the coroner? What rules surround giving evidence to the coroner? So it says there 2 to 3 sentences minimum, and we'd also like you to refer here to an Act of Parliament. In number 12 here, when preparing a work plan, describe how you prioritise tasks and other techniques you use to prepare your plan. So this is time planning. So what are the things you do? We've done this in the very first session of Cluster 3. What are the things you do when you work out how to time plan. And that can just be 4 or 5 dot points of how you might do that. 13, what methods do you use to identify and prioritise your learning needs? Again, 3 or 4 dot points of how you might do that. 14, what strategies could you provide a client to better understand their own emotional and social well-being? With this one, again, we want 4 or 5. It could easily be just dot points again. 15, briefly describe the objective of each of the following legislation. So this is an Act of Parliament and legal provisions and how they apply to nursing practice. So you look at each of these Acts of Parliament and we want you to describe in 2 or 3 sentences each Act of Parliament. Some of these may require more than 2 or 3 sentences, but we want 3 sentences minimum for points A through to point M. And that's it.